Shawne is in the house. Good evening, good morning, wherever the heck you may be. It might even be the afternoon. Welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Shawne from Project Forgive. Tonight's topic, tune-up topic, is the stages of forgiveness. And I love this lecture. I'm going to just do a short little lecture. The reason I love this lecture is it normalizes what you're going through. Because sometimes you think it has to be black and white. I either forgive and forget, which is just hogwash to me, or I forgive and check it off my to-do list. I wish we were more simpler beings and we're really, really complex. So it never works like that, especially if it's a situation that really hurt or you felt really betrayed. Yeah, that's a tough kind of thing. So that's the topic tonight. We're going to look at the stages of forgiveness. I'm going to, everything I tell you today, just so you know, I always put it in the notes, and we'll post everything once the lecture's over. I'll put all the information, anybody I mentioned or told you what to go look up. The links will all be there. Got to do a little bit of pre-sponsorship opportunities before we get started, okay? So I really want to shout out Sheila Unique's new book called Relatefully. There's a subtitle to it. What is the subtitle? I put it right here. How to Gain Greater Relationships from the Inside Out. It's her brand new book. Actually, it just became a bestseller. It became a bestseller last week. And do you consider yourself an introvert? Do you find that you withdraw and have trouble saying what you really think? Do you have flashes of anger that seem to come out of nowhere? Yeah, we've all had that. And these reactions reveal an inner stress in your inner world. And Sheila Unique's book really addresses these conversations. And I love her. She's a very gentle, loving soul, very thought-provoking, very compassionate, very validating. So if you come from more of a softer side of internal, I think you will love this book. And actually, every time we come up on Project Forgive, I always give away some kind of prize. I'm going to give away her book tonight. I'm going to give away a Kindle version. So I'll do that at the end of the lecture, okay? Sound good? I see you guys are showing up. Hello, hello, hello. Want to shout out our partners, our Facebook partners, Swati over at Purple Flower. Exquisite page. If you have the opportunity to check out that page, please do so. I'll put her info at the top. They deeply support us here at Project Forgive. They're awesome souls. If you happen to be new tonight, make sure you flag us and say, hey, I'm new, and everybody's going to just love on you. That's just who we are over here. A couple of commercials. We have masks if you're inspired to support us. We have masks on, almost up on Facebook. We're getting there. We got them up on our website. Kindness is contagious. It shows up backwards for you. Oh, ain't that freaking deep. We also have white ones with black lettering or blue lettering that say kindness is contagious. We've got some other things that are coming up on the Facebook store that will be hopefully happening in the next week. That sounds really good. Also, we send out emails. If you want to sign up for our emails, we're really focused on the conversation of joy. That joy is a choice. Happiness is a choice. I don't care what crap is going on in your life. Joy really is a choice. Doesn't mean you have to be fake happy. That's not what I'm talking about. It's about finding moments of joy, finding some joy in an ordinary moment, even if you're having a really hard day, you know, with you. Hey, Arlene, I see you on there. Totally get that conversation of struggling for forgiveness. Also, too, just so you know, hi Sandy, I see you guys are showing up. We have a Joy is a Habit Facebook group. Joy is a Habit Facebook group. And really to remind you that joy is a choice. So if you're inspired by that, I'll put the links all up. You know where to. Also, what we do for a living is we do training. We do virtual and in-person training. We haven't gone in person yet in a while. We do a lot of virtual training. We bring ideas like forgiveness in the workplace, respect, diversity, equity, inclusion. We bring some pretty amazing high-pressure communication conversations too. And so if you work for a company that brings in speakers or does virtual anything, we would love to be a part of that, and I'll make sure I put up our links so you know what that is. Okay, here we go. Stages of forgiveness. Now, every researcher, every academic forgiveness gurus who aren't academic, everyone has a different level or way that you can forgive. Dr. Wayne Dyer, I love Dr. Wayne Dyer. He has 11 steps to forgiveness. Okay? I modeled our stages for simplicity and acceptance of what's so, if that's a good way to put it. So I really share 5 stages of forgiveness. I'll say them many times, so you don't even have to ask me to repeat them, okay? And I'll also put the info when we're done. Shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. Shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. Now, as I'm sitting here going through these, I'd like you to think of a situation, if you haven't yet, a situation where you haven't been able to forgive. And when I say a situation, I mean a one-off. The situation is over, and now you're just kind of stuck with the remnants of it. So maybe someone got your job. Maybe you come from a past with child abuse or incest or child molestation. Or maybe your sister told a lie to the family. She apologized, but you're still not over it. I don't care if it's 1 year ago, 5 years ago, or 20 years ago. There's no time limit on forgiveness, okay? What about if your best friend slept with your husband or your partner? That would be a doozy, wouldn't it? Another really big doozy is you're diagnosed with breast cancer. Maybe your child was killed by a drunk driver. Well, of course, now the printer's going. We've got printer issues, so forgive the printer noise. We did all kinds of printing. Let me turn it off, see if that'll work. Okay, so with that said, think of your own situation. Shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. Shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. And I want you to think about which stage you might be in with that particular situation. What stage are you in? Shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. And the way that I thought I'd do this tonight, which I think is really important, is because these 5 steps are a non-linear process, which means you can feel anger today about it, and then maybe tomorrow you feel grief. And then maybe 2 days later you're in shock mode. You can jump back and forth many times when you're actively seeking to get through that process and to have some peace. Here's the biggest trick I've learned about the stages of forgiveness, studying it, researching it, doing a documentary on it, is that forgiveness is not something you can put on your to-do list and be done with. Now, little things, yeah, like being mad at the neighbor for, I don't know, breaking your sprinkler system. I'm just making crap up, okay? You can get over that. I'm talking about the stuff that really matters, and when it's deep, like barnacles on a boat. You know the analogy of barnacles on a boat. Barnacles start growing and festering on the bottom of a boat, and they harden. So our heart gets hard, and to tap into these 5 stages is even harder to do, especially if it's been for several years. And so the thing I think is really important to say, that these stages and meandering through them and going back and forth and up and down and all around many times is normal. It's absolutely normal. So let's say someone in your office got your job. Okay, anybody relate to that? And you know, when it first happens, you're shocked because you thought for sure you're going to get that job. And it's even harder now because your colleague got the job, and it still festers, it's still there. Another good example is having a miscarriage. And maybe you were pregnant with one of your friends and you end up losing your baby, or someone you love loses their baby. And then how do you work through your own forgiveness stuff and still find a way to have joy for them because they're still having a baby? Is that even possible? I don't know. I think anything's possible. I think first things first, that kind of like that analogy of putting oxygen on yourself first on the airplane before you can support anyone else. So if it's a scenario where you need to support your friend, or you'd like to, and you just can't because you're in this, you first. You first. So here you are moseying along with this job promotion that you didn't get. If you have your own company, think of it as a contract, and somebody got the contract, somebody you know, whatever. Allowing the meandering of all the feelings is what gives you peace. Allowing the meandering of all the feelings is what gives you peace. I'm going to tell you which one tends to be the hardest in research, which is grief. Some of us really struggle being angry because we're nice people and it's really hard to be angry. And culturally, even globally, whenever we think of anger, we kind of think of violence. Like, what is appropriate anger? Can you just say, I am so frickin' mad right now. I'm so mad. You know how many times a day I say it to my husband? we have a rule that, as we call it, the 20-minute rule. Like, 'cause sometimes if you're really angry, it's usually a hook. And I might say, I need 20 minutes to have a state change so I can release that hook or that intensity. And we've gotten much, much better at expressing anger with each other instead of calling each other assholes, or jerk, or selfish, because it's easy to fall into that realm, especially if you're letting the anger all build up. So anger can be a toughie in this 5 stages of forgiveness, so can grief. So we've got shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. I told you I would say it many times, right? And so some of us struggle with access to anger. That usually comes from families where, not that parents are bad or wrong, that's not the case at all. It's where the parents didn't know how to deal with anger, and whenever anger showed up, they shut it down. I grew up in a house like that. Anger, you were supposed to always be happy. Think about it now with the little kids around you. Do you ever just allow them to have a really, really bad day? You know, some days you just have a freaking bad day. Can you let your kids or the children around you or your grandchildren have a bad day? So when, like Drake, and he's my 10-year-old grandson, if he's having he's being snarky or coming back disrespectful, I'll just say, are you having a bad day? And he'll say, as a matter of fact, I am, Grandma. And it actually dissolves it. So even saying that to your kid or the child around you, saying, are you having a bad day, really, really, really makes a difference. Now, allowing yourself to go to all these pieces, and I do believe that grief is the hardest one. Because who wants to grieve? Ugh. Ugh. I don't. Grieving is not fun. What I've discovered, though, that when you authentically let joy come in your life, you can authentically let grief come in too, because all the feelings go together. You can't just be happy all the time, authentically, and never feel grief. You could, and I would assert that there would be a lot of inauthenticity to that. So this grief, allowing grief, comes from allowing joy, allowing anger, and the grief part are the barnacles on the boat. And so I say that with a lot of experience. I can start talking about something and I will have some grieving feelings right now on this live. Many of you know I lost my mother, my father, my sister from 3 types of cancer in a very short period of time just before COVID. Very interesting year for me. I don't say that for you to say, oh, Dr. Shawne, I'm so sorry you went through that. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying it to presence and validate the difficulty of grief. And the latest tragedy was my daughter lost her baby. And the baby was 6 months, so it was a really sad thing. And even saying it out loud, I don't have as much intensity because I've been grieving for like the last 3 weeks to a month. So it just brings up feelings of sadness. So that's one of the things about grief, is when you allow it to first come, sometimes you feel like you're going to cry for frickin' days. Anybody else can relate to that? And it feels like that, but that's not how it works. It comes in waves. And when you're allowing some grief to come up, one of the things I'll say to myself is say, okay, can you allow this to come up right now? It's not going to last forever. That's how I talk to myself. And can you allow it to just be and give it some space and give it some birth, for lack of a better term? So allowing yourself to grieve is a really powerful thing. Now let's say today you grieve. 2 days later you could be in complete anger again. 3 days later you could feel a lot of peace around the topic. That is normal. Looking at all the recovery stuff I've done from incest, I was molested as a kid, had to learn a lot of this on my own. I wish someone would have told me that forgiveness is a process and it's different for everybody, and there's these stages, and it's normal to feel shock one day and anger the next, and then go back to grief, and then feel angry all over again, and then feel some peace and some acceptance. One of the things that I've seen around these stages, and I'll come and look at what you guys are saying here in just a second, is this notion of getting something off our to-do list, even if it's in our brain, like, okay, I need to forgive my old business partner who stole $20,000 from me. You know, as soon as I have that, life's going to be good. It doesn't quite work that way, because there's always going to be something to forgive. Stuff is always going to be happening to you / for you, because I like to take the perspective that it's happening for us, and that there's always benefits that come out of us and comes out of it. Sometimes, though, we're in such a hurry, we're trying to get through the process. I'm in the space now today with my daughter losing my grandson. His name is Easton. I'm starting to see some blessings from it. Do I've said this? Yeah, I've been talking about it, and even present to the blessings. One of the blessings is I feel closer to my daughter than I ever have. There's something about grief, especially if you let someone witness your grief. There's something very sacred and beautiful about it. And watching my daughter, being with her while she was majorly grieving, here you go, it was heartbreaking, and at the same time, I feel connected to her soul. Does that make sense? So there's always blessings in them. Sometimes, though, I think we try to see the blessings faster than we're ready. And one of the things I would say about, like, oh, okay, so when are you ready? If someone would ask me that a month ago, I would say, I don't know. I'm not ready today. I know when I'm not. And I'm more ready today, March 22nd, to actually see some of the blessings. Because my daughter lives in Florida, here I am in Michigan. My other son from California, my other daughter from Michigan, we all went down and spent time with her. That was beyond exquisite. Just to be together and be in that grief and in that rawness and that vulnerability was very, very precious. Right? Normal to feel all these stages like a roller coaster ride. And one thing that I really want to emphasize with stages of forgiveness, especially if it's something in the past that just hasn't been complete. I love that you guys are getting this, okay? I see you, Mary Lou. Thank you for that. Let me know it's really. Is we really want to check it off our list and say, I forgive him. And my question is, why? Why? What if forgiveness also means peace? What if that's what it means? You know, I look at an ex-husband. I have an ex-husband, very severe alcoholic, did horrible crap. I know anybody who's been divorced from an alcoholic, you know the horrible stuff that happens. And can I say that I forgive him in this instance? I think so. It's I've been with my husband Terry for 25 years now. I have no reactivity even when I think of my ex-husband. He gave me 2 beautiful children. That's authentic for me. Now, if you were to ask me about Gary, my stepdad, who molested me as a kid, do I forgive him? Probably not. Molestation started when I was 8. Do I have peace? You betcha. Do I have acceptance? Yeah. Do I think I will forgive him before I die? I don't know. And the thing is, the forgiveness lady's saying this, okay? Based on research, based on my exploration, based on making a movie, it doesn't matter. What matters is not the label you put on it, like, oh, I forgive him, and you can declare it. It's how do you feel? You know, because I look at something very serious like child abuse or molestation, and that's a lifelong journey because of triggers. Like, are the triggers less? Are they less insidious and they don't impact me on a daily basis? That is correct. But sometimes I'll get taken right back to being 8 years old. Just like you might get taken right back to that person that stole the money from you, or right back to when your child was killed by a drunk driver, even 20 years later. So this process is a very sacred process, and when you take away the labels of being able to declare you forgive, that's when the real healing takes place. Because, do you need to have it checked off on your list? It's more about how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. Do you have some peace? Do you have some acceptance? For those that are listening, we're doing the stages of forgiveness. We're looking at them: shock, anger, grief, acceptance, peace. And that's my assimilation of the stages. Many other researchers and thought leaders have sometimes 3 steps, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. I've seen people have 20 steps to forgiveness. And to me, they're very similar to grief. Because forgiveness, to me, is a grieving process, especially if something horrible happened to you. Let's see if you're saying anything I need to address before I change gears just a little bit. See, a lot of you are watching, just looking to see. Gotcha, Mary Lou. See if anything to say. Heather, thanks for the yes. Up the volume a little bit, Sandra. That's great to know. Let me just up this. Might help on your computer too. Sometimes it's your computer. Peace is a feeling of relief and happiness. That to me is the epitome. I have had major internet issues the last couple of days with the internet people here for a few hours. Okay, so here's one other piece that I want to say about this. There's a distinction between something that happened in the past and it's over and done and you want to complete the forgiveness process versus an ongoing need for forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe you have a sister that shares your secrets, and you've told her, don't share my secrets, and she keeps violating your privacy. That's an ongoing forgiveness need. My mother kept talking to me very shamefully, and I had to keep forgiving her. I get those questions a lot. My mother keeps doing this. My husband keeps doing this. He's unreliable. I can't trust his word. My sister gives out private information. That is a very different forgiveness conversation in the stages of forgiveness, because it's the dichotomy is we've got a situation that is complete and done, and now we got one that's ongoingly happening. And that's why I do so many lectures on boundaries, because that's a forgiveness. That's why it's so hard to do that when someone keeps violating your boundary and you care about them, or violating and you have to keep forgiving them, because boundaries haven't been put in place so the situation doesn't keep unfolding over and over and over again. So if someone keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again to you, that is not a forgiveness conversation at all. That's a boundary conversation. And once the boundaries are set and you can start creating them, then it can move into forgiveness conversation. Okay, makes sense? And if you've ever been on any of my lectures on boundaries, and I'll be sure to put one up, at the end of this lecture, I'll put one up in the notes, that setting boundaries, especially with people that you love, takes persistence. It's not a one-hit wonder. You don't just say, this is my boundary, stop doing that. With family systems, you've trained them to be a certain way for so long, it takes a little bit of new training with new boundaries. And to be able to do that with grace and kindness, even though you want to kill them, to do it with grace and kindness, even though you want to smack them, been there, done that. It's a practice of a habit. It's a habit to practice. It's a mastery. Okay? I want to give one more scenario in the stages of forgiveness. So we've got one, forgiveness when the situation is over and done and now you just need to get through it. That's a non-linear process: shock, anger, grief, acceptance, peace. Then you've got an ongoing situation where forgiveness is needed and they keep doing it over and over again. That is, the primary is not a forgiveness conversation, it's a boundary conversation. I'm hoping you're getting a lot of clarity from this, because I love these distinctions. And then the last scenario is they keep harming you and it's non-malicious. This is tricky. They keep harming and it's non-malicious. What would be a good example of that? A good example would be someone in your life with Alzheimer's. Yeah. Clicking? It's kind of cool, huh? So we got these three situations. So if you want to be in relationship with your father with Alzheimer's, or your grandfather, or your uncle, you are going to be dancing with constant ongoing forgiveness. Sometimes I have to do it with my grandkids, and it's appropriate with my grandkids if they don't listen to me. I'm not their disciplinarian. My job is to love them. If I need help with discipline, I got to go to the parents. And then if they didn't listen to me and then my feelings are hurt, that's a Dr. Shawne issue, not a grandchild issue. How am I going to rectify that? I'm the grown-up with the cognitive development and the cognitive skills to work this out, not my 4-year-old grandchild and not my 10-year-old grandchild. It's time for me to go to parents and brainstorm and say, hey, I need your help. I'm noticing that I'm getting really angry with the kids. They're not doing what I'm saying. I don't want you to go and yell at them. That's not what I'm asking. I want to have some kind of brainstorm of how we can work this out as a family. Because grandparents should never discipline, should never step parents. You're just stepping into a bee's nest where you don't belong. You don't belong there. Making sense? Let's see if there's any comments, questions. Cool topic tonight. So we had 3 scenarios. Oh, you're a newbie. Welcome, Paula. So glad you're here. I know. I love the 5 steps too, Sandy. I'm with you. You're laughing. I said something funny. Linda, you're saying hi to everybody. Yes. I hate that. Pinto, I don't know if your first name is Pinto and your last name is Nunez. Or Nunez is your first name. I hate when people say that too. Your worst pain becomes your best strength. I can't tell you how many people said that to me when I said my daughter lost her baby. And I'm just like thinking, yeah, I'm not there. And I had to forgive them in the moment. Yeah? Because they mean well. That would be in that scenario where it's non-malicious. Perfect example of non-malicious. So we have event over and done, event that keeps happening and you keep feeling hurt and need to forgive, and then the non-malicious repeat. It takes a lot of wisdom and a lot of internal maturity. Love the conversation of making the unconscious conscious, making the unconscious conscious, making your experience of things more conscious and having more awareness, like the person that says your worst pain becomes your best strength, and forgiving them on a dime because they really do mean well. Sometimes people just don't know what to say. What do you say? Sometimes it's so hard. And sometimes what you can say when someone's really struggling, I just love you. I don't know what to say, so I'm just going to tell you how much I love you. If you have some words you'd like me to share with you or say back to you, I'm happy to do that. Usually the other person says, no, just be with me. Just be with me. Yeah. Let's see. Hi, Vicki. I see you. Oh, you're in the hospital. We're going to send you some healing prayers, baby. Okay? Oh, I'm so glad, Terry. I'm so glad. Sometimes I wonder when I do these lives, am I just over repetitive? I try to use different examples and to put a different spin on it, because we all have different hardwiring, how we approach and absorb information to go from unconscious to conscious. Awareness to me is the biggest gift you can do for yourself, to actively choose awareness. Hey, Sandra's in the house. You know, Noreen, that's a great question you asked. What about mental illness? There's a reconnect. Here we go. A lot of mental illnesses fall. Let's see if it's going to reconnect. Here we go. A lot of those scenarios of mental illness fall in the scenario of non-malicious schizophrenia. Some people would say alcoholism or drug addiction is non-malicious. I would assert it could be, and get some really strong boundaries and help around you, because you can't do this one alone, especially drug addiction or alcohol addiction. You need support. So, yeah, I'm so glad, Ruth. Thank you for that validation. Yep, I'm with you, Joan. Yeah, oh, got it, Denise. So you're in that spot. I would call it a spot of inquiry. reminds me of my mom. When my mom had cancer, and I was always a very polite daughter to my mother, never raised my voice, and I'd go home and eat, 10 Reese's peanut butter cups. Okay, that's how I dealt with the pain of how she talked to me. And when I had to spend every day with her, especially the last year of her life, my sister had already died. My sister was the favorite child. She died. So here's me and my mom, right? It could have been 100% complete torture. The work that I did with her, it was only 50% torture. And I say that like real, okay? I remember one time, she was so angry, I didn't move the antenna right on the TV, and then I didn't do this right, and then I didn't do this right. And I just fall out yelled at her. I said, hey, stop talking to me like that. I hate it. Makes me not want to help you at all. Just stop it. Now, I'm not telling you to do that with your daughter with depression. I am saying, I got it. I know you're struggling. And at the same time, it feels terrible when you talk to me like that. So let's take a 20-minute break and try again, because I can't do this. It hurts too much. It hurts my heart. You can say that with someone struggling with depression. Are you with me, Denise? You can say that. And you might have to say it many, many times. I probably had to do it with my mother daily. And it got softer and better and more digestible over time because I had more practice setting that boundary with her. Making sense? Yeah? Let's see what else people are saying. Yeah. Just so you know, asking to see the full video. As soon as it's done, it'll go into record mode and you'll be able to watch the whole thing. Okay? Sophia, I love your question. If you start having happy dreams about the ones you've been trying to forgive, does that mean you have officially forgiven? You know what? You get to say, because it's your body, it's your emotions, it's your journey, it's your life, it's your forgiveness. You get to say what that is. You get to say. It's trouble forgiving someone who abused or hurt someone I love. Same conversation. Let me see if there's anything in there else. It's the same conversation. Absolutely. Could be your best friend. I don't know what the situation. I'm just going to make something up. Could be your best friend's ex-husband, and she's got an ex-husband who was an alcoholic. Let's use that as an example. And her mom was mean to her for getting divorced. You can be upset at her mom, and possibly the ex-husband, for treating her daughter so poorly, especially when she needed support the most. So yeah, yep. Let's see. Thank you, Anne Marie, I appreciate that. I'm sorry it freezes sometimes. I'm having some internet issue. I'm glad it's making sense. My dog is saying she's got to go to the bathroom. Hey, thanks for saying that, Heather, for me. I so appreciate you. Okay, that's it. Your goose is cooked. I'm going to give away a prize. We're going to give away Relatefully by Sheila Unique. So we'll do that in a second. Also next week, the topic is going to be on forgiving the unforgivable. How do you forgive the unforgivable? And got some great tools for that and some new ways to think about it, so it'll actually give you more peace. I really feel like that when I do these lectures, it really is to guide you to feel more peace. That's really what I'm doing. To me, forgiveness is peace. It's not declaring I've forgiven. It's actually feeling peaceful, having more access to joy, not feeling stuck in some of that old crap. And some real tools that help you in day-to-day when you're dealing with someone you got to forgive ongoingly by choice because they're related to you, they're in your family system. You have a little more power at work, although sometimes we don't feel like that, because you have other resources and support, and you're also part of the corporate culture or the business culture, so you have a little more leeway to get things handled more efficiently in a corporate environment. You are so welcome. I'm sorry I can't answer everything. I'm glad you're getting this and getting the conversation that forgiveness really is about accepting more peace, not checking it off your checklist. It's okay. So if you're inspired, please share us. It always makes a difference for us with our corporations like General Motors that supports our forgiveness conversations so exquisitely in the workplace. So Relatefully. Someone's going to get this book, Relatefully by Sheila Unique, and we're going to send you a link to get it on Audible. So here, I'm going to have you. Oh, thank you, Dawn. I know I just got my hair cut. I love that you said that. Just got it cut yesterday. Or the day before. I think it's kind of following with each other. Okay, so what am I going to say? So it's very non-scientific how you win a prize here on Facebook. And it's not fair. I just want to tell you, it is not fair. Because how things show up in your feed show up very differently in yours than they show up in mine. So it's the first one that shows up in my feed for Sheila's book, Relatefully. How about let's just say the word Relatefully? That's the name of her book. You don't have to spell it right as long as you're close. Someone's going to win it. The first person that shows up, it can be anywhere in the world because it's digital. It's a digital download. It's an Audible. And Kathleen, it's you. Kathleen Zeman Schrank. All right, Kathleen, it's you. You're the winner. Woo-hoo! Mimi, almost. You're just second. All you got to do, Kathleen, is go on Messenger, give us your email, no address because nothing's being mailed, and I'll make sure that you get that link for the Audible version, okay, the Kindle version. And that's it. Next week, Forgiving the Unforgivable. Share us, share us, share us. The more you share us, the bigger difference you make for us and allow us to do some really, really amazing things. Really appreciate you guys. Big love. I will see you during the week. Maybe some deer show up. I'll do some random moments of joy to remind us about joy. And then next Monday, Forgiving the Unforgivable. Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks for joining. Take care.